Give that man a round of applause.
Well, thank you, Charles. Is this on now? You guys hear me okay with this? Is that working? Awesome. Thank you, Charles, and thanks for putting that together. I really appreciate it with all the free time you had during this build. That was nice to do that. Welcome, everyone, and hello. It's wonderful to see you all. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your interest and your attention. My name is Android Jones. I live on a farm in Boulder, Colorado, and I've been making art in this kind of the festival gathering trance scene for about almost a decade. 2008 was my first boom, and I've been coming ever since. And every boom so far, I think I've done a portrait workshop demo, and so this is another iteration of that. Gives me kind of a loose format to talk to you guys. During this presentation, I'll talk about just some fundamental aspects of things that I've learned in the past few years about making art, being creative, and what it means to be an artist and to work in this matrix of needing to kind of support yourself and try to live with integrity. And there'll be a bunch of different things I'll follow. But I will be kind of starting it off under the context of creating a portrait for you guys. And the name of this workshop was the Electro-Mineral portrait. And what Electro-Mineral is, since being a digital artist, I first picked up a Wacom like '96. I had a classically trained academic background of figure drawing and life painting and cast drawing and dissecting anatomy, but once I started to see and kind of visualize and understand and experience the capabilities of working with electricity as a medium, there was kind of no turning back from there. And as a digital artist, I noticed that people put there's a heavy weight upon what the medium exactly is. When someone sees it, they want to know, like, is this paint, is it digital, is it pencil? And each one of those designates a certain value scale inside of the person and individual. In my work, both creative and shamanic, I've kind of dissolved between understanding the separation of energy and molecules myself. But to put it in more of a framework, the work that I call now is called Electro-Mineral. Most of the paintings that we've enjoyed for thousands of years, they're really, if you look at the medium, it's pretty much vegetable. It's like linseed oil or canvas. Actually, someone gave me something at another event in Colorado. They gave me a piece of charcoal. It was a little dark piece of charcoal, and the woman told me that this was from the native ancestors of the land wanted to remind me and give me this tool. And at first I didn't really catch it, but then when I started to kind of get deeper into it, at a certain point in time in consciousness, a piece of charcoal, that wood with the seared end, was the most cutting-edge piece of creative technology on the planet. And there was a moment when the consciousness of the primate, mammalian, Australopithecus felt this, had an urge, and made a mark and saw the reflection of that. That is where everything has started. And so to put things in context, the tools that I'm using now I consider electro-mineral because, one, the medium's electricity, and all these amazing devices that we have procured from the manipulation of molecules of really just Mother Earth. We got iron, magnesium, copper, quartz, crystals, so minerals, so electro-minerals together. That's what I find that's the most descriptive and easy to remember type of naming for it. So with that, I'm pretty much just going to get into it. It's going to be about an hour or so. I'm going to walk you through more so on the kind of the creative processes. I don't think we have too many people here to get sort of technical, so I'll try to make it informative, but also kind of entertaining at the same time. So like I said, I really appreciate everybody being here. And I'm going to introduce our lovely model. If Lila can come to the stage. Oh, you're right there. This is Lila. Say hi to everybody. Lila made my job really easy because whenever I do these, there's always a challenge of like, who do I choose to do a portrait of? And it can get very political and dramatic. And she saved me the favor by coming up during build and asking me, which I'm super excited that she did, because I think that she is one of the, I think she would represent an archetype of like the idealized perfect boomer. She represents 3 generations of boom here on the land. Her parents, Lucy and Andre, have been part of boom for many, many years. And now she comes back. When I knew you, how old were you when I first met you? Must have been 6 years?
17, 16?
Yeah, she was 16 when I met her. And now she's here with her own beautiful baby. So she really represents the 3 generations of like the perfect boomer, which is what we're all kind of going for here on the land. So it's a super honor to have you up here, and it'll be really sweet to make an image of you.
Yeah.
Cool. So. Okay, so the resolution that I'll be working out on this LED screen, I will admit that it isn't the highest definition that I can be presenting art for you guys, so we're going to kind of do our best and let our imaginations kind of fill in the gaps. I'm going to just start by, I talk a lot about, and I find there's a lot of value in kind of the creative process. Some people, I think for every artist, it's totally different. We have our own kind of unique approaches to it. Personally, I'm really a big fan and supporter of taking as much time as possible to really like open up the space that you're in, whether that means like, sometimes the most important decision I make when I'm making a painting would be like what my playlist is or what the music is, what kind of like incense I'm burning in the background, like what time of day it is. But you know, from doing this for many years, I've realized that there's a lot of my own control and that I exercise into a piece, but for the ones that seem to get the best reaction from people, it's usually ones where my decision making was less present, and I kind of got out of my own way and let kind of a deeper intuition kind of take over. And some people call that the muse, or some people call that channeling. I don't know if I'd really call it either of those, but I feel, and I've experienced this, that there is a conscious and intelligent level of consciousness that I think comes from maybe the center of the universe. But I felt this conscious, intelligent spirit of creativity many times in my process, and I find that it feels like a living type of a life force. And if we're lucky and if we can refine the situation that we're in, sometimes you can kind of game the system and activate more of you can make yourself more receptive to the energy, and giving yourself time and space and permission and breathing, whatever you can do to really kind of set that tone, will be potentially some of the most important decisions that you can make throughout the whole piece. This is a really nice environment we're working in now. How long have you been out here on the land? 3 months. Yeah, been out here almost 3 weeks, and so it's been good. So I'm gonna pose Lila, and if you could just look straight at me.
Straight at you or straight at the...
Probably straight at me. Okay. So you guys saw in that video that Chuck showed, that was probably a pretty good, it gives you a pretty good visual sense for like what the inside of my mind looks like all the time. When you're being creative, and the wonderful thing about these tools, these digital tools, and using electricity is that you have an infinite amount of possibilities to explore, and the downside is you have an infinite amount of possibilities to explore. And the more aware you are of the tools, the more possibilities that exist. And sometimes, I mean, the majority of that 40 hours was me kind of heeing and hawing over if I put this shape here or that shape there. It was less around the actual drawing time. So for this one, it's just gonna be kind of a quick, we're just gonna make decisions on the fly and kind of go for it. So this piece of software I'm using right now, it's called Painter 2015. I won't bore people with the technical aspects, but I will say that this piece of particular piece of software I've worked with for almost 15 years. And it has a, I think it's just a really amazing piece of code, and it has enabled me, it's enabled me to think and can make decisions in a different way that I wouldn't have before. A lot of people, there's a lot of conversations among artists if technology is ruining. I've heard some critiques that they think technology could be like ruining the creative experience in a way. And I feel that in certain cases, technology it can certainly be like a huge distraction from creativity. It can really pull you out of the zone. But my favorite thing about technology and about software in particular is once consciousness gets an idea of what a piece of software can do, once it gets that sort of inner permission and it understands the framework, it'll adapt to using that as a way of thinking. So some of the tools in this piece of program, when I'm dreaming, I will dream in this interface, or kind of a surreal, psychedelic, stranger version of it. But the fact that my whole thought process has been affected by the way the tools work, for me is a really good example that a lot of this, I'm always trying to find ways where technology is actually enhancing creativity. So one feature right here, I'm going to have to make these colors a little darker so you see them. So this would be this is an example. This is a mirror tool, and so this kind of off the bat, after using this tool for a long time, my brain reacts faster to being able to draw something on both sides at the same time. So I'm going to have you look at me and just try to get straight on. Perfect. And I'm going to go a little in and out of talking to you guys and maybe just kind of like zoning out for a little while too. So I'll try to see if I can get some little music in the background going for you too. Okay, so here's an example where I'm just going to zone out for a little bit so I can focus. Hmm?
So glad I don't have to do this series every time.
Okay. Okay, so at this stage, I feel like I have a certain. Oh, you're not allowed to look. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you that. You're definitely not allowed to look at all. They definitely can't look until it's finished, or it just screws the whole thing up every time for some reason. But at this stage, this would kind of be where the first job I ever had was working as a street portrait artist when I was 16. And I used relatively the same technique. I would have kind of a gray background. I'd use the red kind of Conte chalk, and I would add my darks and my highlights on another level. And it's almost, I still, to this day, will kind of employ that same type of thought process. And so now that I have, the face like far enough along, I have kind of the landmarks of where I know things were at. I've been working symmetrically just to kind of save time, and it's actually a little bit more fun, and the process is more interesting. But now I can kind of go in and actually look at a little more of the lighting that I'm actually seeing. And for this portrait too, there's for different pieces, a lot of people ask me how much. The question I seem to get asked the most is how much time something takes. People are always really interested in the amount of time something goes by in, which is I always find that kind of a strange question to focus on. Usually because I never really have an answer. Like I probably work on a piece until it's finished or I lose all of my patience. But when it's a good piece, usually time stops really mattering once you start working on it. And if it's a piece that you don't like, then time kind of drags on. So that's definitely, I think it's kind of a relative issue on how long something takes to do. But no matter what, it can take me, some pieces I can get it down really quickly, and the original impulse will be fleshed out in a matter of hours, but a lot of times it'll take me 90% of my time to finish the last 10% of an image. So starting images is one of my favorite things to do. That's why I like these workshops, because they just force me to start something, and I don't have to necessarily finish it, even though I probably will for this one. So here I'm doing just as I would if I was really using chalk and charcoal. I'm building up the form. I'm getting kind of an understanding of some of the landmarks on Lila's face that makes her Lila and not someone else. And one of the things that I've learned recently, or within the past few years, or over the course of my studies, that created kind of a fundamental shift in the way I approached image making and being creative as a two-dimensional visual artist. I came to this understanding for a while when I was in college and I was in art school. I was really striving for some pursuit of like a realism or a perfection in the images and the art that I made. I wanted my drawings to be like as accurate as possible, almost kind of like a photorealistic type of perspective. And then I kind of launched into this really ambitious journey of trying to create that, trying to make, I would dissect cadavers, I would just devour different anatomical books, trying to get as real as possible. But at the end of the day, when you get down to kind of the real issue, is that the molecular density of our reality, I mean, the resolution of this is unbelievable, and it's impossible to ever try to capture with a paintbrush or a pen or a piece of charcoal or that original piece of coal. And it was a little frustrating to find that out, but also really, I think for me, really liberating, because what it made me understand is that all we can really do, and even what I'm doing right now and what you saw in the video that Charles played, is as an artist, I'm pretty much just a manipulator of shapes that will manipulate the psychological elements of consciousness. I think that consciousness does behave by a certain set of rules, and when you understand the dynamics of consciousness, it's easier to create images that can create a feeling of space or reference or identity or persona or emotion. And so my understanding kind of came to the idea that since it isn't about actually translating the exact dimensions of anything, it's just making enough shapes. Because the beautiful thing about human beings, one of the pride points of our evolution is our neocortex. There's 3 levels of the brain. There's the R complex. You can smile a little bit. You have 1,000 shades of happy, but I can only paint one of them right now. So I want you to pick your best happy. So getting back to what I was saying, the R complex, or reptilian brain, mostly responsible for kind of our fight and flight and fear mechanism, and the mammalian aspect of our brain, which holds most of our drive for mating and signaling, and the continuation of our species. It's really concerned a lot more with like sex and status. And then we have the neocortex. This is totally simplified, but the neocortex is largely responsible for all these higher functions of creativity and understanding. And it's in the neocortex where we're able to process the shapes that we see. And our neocortex is probably the most advanced neocortex for visual information of any other species on the planet that we know of. And what that basically is, it's like a shape recognition piece of technology that we've been hardwired with for millions of years. And what that enables us to do is pick out shapes in a distance, you know, whether we were on like the Sahara Plains or wherever, and we could identify if something was going to be a threat or if it was going to be food. And now we use that same type of technology to understand and avoid, well, we don't really avoid, well, some of us don't avoid predators anymore, but to find the thing, to, you know, bring us closer to pleasure and farther away from pain, and genetically select the best mate possible. And but it's a technology that's it's become so dominant within our consciousness that I feel that there's an element of ourselves, of the psyche, that is completely uncomfortable. It wants to make a shape and wants to call and make a reference to everything. So when it sees something that it doesn't understand, it reaches for some type of explanation. And the psychological phenomena that they've come up with that. So the term, like when you're looking at the clouds and you see this formation of three-dimensional clouds and something that looks like a rabbit or a dragon or a face, like we've all had that kind of experience. The term for that is pareidolia, and that's the mind's, you know, increasing need to make some sort of sense out of the chaos that it sees. And it's an incredibly powerful aspect, amazingly unique aspect to us humans, and it's something that I'm a huge fan of working with a lot. And so a lot of the ways I set up my technology is a way of, it is in essence a way of kind of leveraging these kind of techniques as much as possible. So here we go, we've got kind of a pretty good, I feel like I've got the face pretty fleshed out here, but this is the one place where I am totally free, where I have no limits of the expansion of my imagination and my ability to explore shapes and then share those shapes with other people. So the experience of making art is the most, I come to understand that it's the most valuable experience in my life. And my model for how I go about life and kind of support myself is pretty much, as long as I can find a way to use the art that I make to just buy more of the experience of making art, then I'm okay. And that's been so far pretty good once you simplify it like that. Because at the end of the day, one of my big takeaways lately is that everything we're doing is just for the experience of it. You know, and this is, you guys are all perfect examples. We're all at Boom together. We're here at Boom. The reason we go through all this crazy effort to get out here is because there's something about this experience that collectively we all find really valuable. I've been coming to Boom since 2008, and it's been something that I learn more about, I think, myself and reality and people more during the few weeks that I'm here or the month that I'm here every year than I do outside of this place. And the experience of being here is probably one of the best type of experience that I've found that you can almost kind of predictably recreate. And so kind of going on that line of experience, what I found this year is that when it comes to being an artist and you know, the fact that we live in a world where you do have to kind of pay to live and we don't make our own food and make our own power, that, you know, a lot of artists, we have to find a way to interact with the rest of the world, and it can be a little challenging, but I find that what's helped me is understanding that, you know, I think a lot about what attracts humans to art, why art is important, and what makes it valuable. And what I've kind of come to the conclusion is that with thinking along the lines, it's all about experience. The most important thing is to create art that gives people an experience that's desirable enough that they would want to have more of in their life or share with other people or their community. One of the neat things about this software is I'm able to, I went out, actually I'll show you, I did kind of like a shake and bake here. So Lila is responsible for so many of the beautiful gardens that you guys have been seeing here, which are truly amazing. How long ago did you guys start planting everything?
3 months.
3 months ago. So everything you see in the garden started from a 2-year-old pile of shit into what you're seeing right now in 3 months?
Yeah.
3 months. It's pretty crazy. 3 months they all did that. So, oh, I gotta turn it over to here. Let's see. So today, oh, keeping in line, I know where I was going with the experience aspect. Part of my technique that keeps me in love with the process of creation, because it's, you know, you can fall out of love with it really quickly. I think a lot of people can understand that, especially when you start tying in like more money and support and everything complicated. So I find it really valuable to keep excited about the experience of making a piece, and to do that I'm always making new types of like brushes and patterns to use. And so this is just a file of, you can look at this one actually, that's okay to look at. These are just some different photos I took out in the garden today with my iPhone, and they're of special relevance because I know that Lila and her mom were really responsible for planting a lot of these beautiful entities to share with all of us. And so I already went to the trouble of taking all of these and creating a whole different brush set of them. And so now I'm going to try to use some of these and see where they fit, because when I think of this beautiful woman, I just think of life and growth and fertility and you just got regeneration just glowing from inside of you. And so I'm going to try to use these different pieces and, you know, have fun and see where it goes. Yeah, you can get rid of this.
Of this guy?
He's just talking over you. Well, unfortunately, my love for you is infinite, but my time is very short. And this will bring us to the end of our little workshop presentation. Thank you, Lila. So sweet. And I think we're going to do a little Q&A if we have time for that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Liminal czars.
Yeah, we have time for a couple of questions.
First of all, I want to just thank you for your inspiration, for your work. It's very touching me deeply and yeah, just driving me forward in my expression as a musical artist. And that's why the only question that I have right now, what was the music that you were playing in background? What was the music?
That was I Awake. He's a DJ out of Sweden. But most of the time, Jans would elaborate on the music question. I have a huge collection of just really nice, beautiful down-tempo music and classical music. Usually things without words, things that can kind of take me into more of a creative space without influencing me in a subliminal manner. That and jazz. But like I said, a nice playlist can be the most influential and important piece I make. And part of my mission over the last 7 years is to try to, I want to be able to paint what electronic music and this sort of thing looks like. And it's always a great challenge to go after just like the abstract concept of what would music look like, even though it's a totally different experience for everyone here. Yeah.
Like, actually two things. First of all, the Painter software you're using, is that from Corel?
It is, yeah, it is Corel Painter.
Yeah. And secondly, I've tried to keep up with your thoughts a bit while you were painting, and I kind of smiled when I think we had the same thought at a certain point. For example, when you did the frame, like the flower frame around the head, and then you did the crown, I thought maybe you should make it asymmetrical on the left side. Well, from my perspective, left side. Mm-hmm. And then you did that. And something I always find myself wondering while painting faces, or kind of disturbing me, is like there's a small line between the feminine and the male side in humans, and it kind of gets more obvious while you're painting. Did you find yourself in a position where you were looking at the face and thought maybe you did it too male, or maybe you had to influence to bring out something more of the face?
Here goes my batteries. So, faces are just the reason I usually use faces, and you'll see there's a lot of faces in most of my artwork, is in the repertoire of all the shape recognition software already kind of pre-installed in our genetic code and reinforced in our day-to-day life. They say that there's an actual there's a quotient of the brain that is meant on just reserving different faces. I mean, it's the most powerful, most suggestive, most like pareidolia recreated shape. And there's a reason that it has that you see like the covers of all magazines and advertising and marketing. They don't use that because they think faces are cool. They use it because it's the quickest way to grab another individual's attention. And so for me, I think the faces they're a vehicle that I can use to get someone's attention and then transport deeper, more interesting type of meaning on top of that. But when it comes down to what I was saying before, where this is all just shape play, there's little rules, like a man's face will be more angular. With a woman's face, there's less is more. But I don't think about that as much anymore. I don't even really think about like the feminine stroke or like the masculine stroke. What I'm looking as I look at Leela's face, I'm breaking it down into as many abstract shapes as possible. The goal is for me to actually draw what I'm seeing and not what I'm thinking is there, because it's also that collective imagination of you and everyone. We have this archetypal face inside of our imagination it's a composite of every single face we've ever seen our whole lives, mostly ourselves, then our family, then greater community. And the real trick is to just turn that off and look at the face as raw as you can and appreciate each unique shape as if you were, you know, like an alien, like nature show host, like analyzing different aspects and breaking it apart and putting it back together while still retaining the experience. You know, this is an experience I'll remember forever. This is the best boom ever, and I'm so happy. I wish I would have had way more time on this, but it's something I can kind of work on later on. But it's a total honor to have you up here, and thanks so much for volunteering and being so brave, for sure. And and I thank all of you guys for sharing this experience with me today. And like I said, I'm in the gallery for the rest of Boom if you guys have questions or comments, or if you guys want to tell me something about, you know, what you think about the art or an experience you've had with it. I'm really here for that. I love being the one-on-one interaction. So, because I'm in service to humanity and I'm in service to you. And the more I can understand about what your needs are as a community and as a people, what inspires you, what gets you going, what makes you want to stand up straighter as a human being, that's the kind of art that I want to make, because that's what I think is most valuable. So thank you guys so much for your time. And we all, from the Boom team, we all love you, and we really hope that you guys have just the best experience of your lives here this weekend. There's no better place on planet Earth at this moment that's more amazing than Boom 2014. So congratulations all for making it, and let's just make it the best weekend ever. I'm Android Jones. I love you all very much. Good night.